Imagine you are born 30,000 years ago. You do not know it yet, but you are not considered attractive. Maybe your face is uneven. Maybe your nose is much larger than everyone else's. Maybe your teeth grew in strange ways. Maybe one of your eyes sits slightly lower than the other. Whatever the reason, when people look at you, they do not see beauty. And if you are watching this from the modern world, you might think that means your life is already over. After all, people today often talk about attractiveness as if it is one of the most important things a person can have. Better-looking people are often treated differently. They may get more attention, more opportunities, and more interest from potential partners. So if life works that way now, surely it must have been even worse 30,000 years ago when survival was harder and life was more brutal. Surely ancient humans would have pushed ugly people aside and focused only on the strongest and most attractive members of the group. It sounds logical. In fact, it sounds so logical that most people never stop to question it. But when scientists, archaeologists, and anthropologists began piecing together evidence from the ancient world, they found something much more interesting. Because if you were ugly 30,000 years ago, your appearance probably was not the thing that decided your future. What mattered much more was whether you could make yourself useful. And once you understand how ancient humans actually lived, that starts to make perfect sense. The first thing you need to remember is that ancient humans lived in a completely different world from the one you live in today. Right now, you can spend hours looking at faces on your phone. You can compare yourself to celebrities, models, influencers, and edited photos that barely resemble real life anymore. Ancient humans had none of that. They lived in small groups, often containing only a few dozen people. These were the same people you saw every day, every week, every year. You hunted with them, you gathered food with them, you slept near them, you survived alongside them. In a world like that, people learn a lot more about you than what your face looks like. They learn whether you work hard, they learn whether you help others, they learn whether you can be trusted. They learn whether you panic during danger or stay calm when things go wrong. And when your survival depends on the people around you, those qualities become incredibly important. In fact, they often become more important than appearance itself. Imagine a freezing winter where food is becoming scarce. Nobody cares who has the perfect smile. They care who knows where to find food. Imagine a dangerous animal appears near the camp. Nobody cares who has the most attractive face. They care who can help protect the group. The ancient world had a way of forcing people to focus on what actually mattered. This does not mean appearance was completely ignored. Humans have probably always noticed physical appearance. Even today, researchers find that people across many different cultures often prefer certain traits. Healthy-looking skin, signs of strength, and balanced facial features are commonly seen as attractive. Ancient humans likely noticed these things too. They did not understand genetics or biology, they understood health. A person who appeared healthy was more likely to survive and have healthy children. So yes, being attractive may have given some people advantages when it came to finding partners. But here is where many people make a mistake. They assume that attraction was the only thing that mattered. In reality, prehistoric life was far too difficult for people to make decisions based on looks alone. Imagine you are choosing a partner in a world where every day is a struggle. Would you choose the most attractive person if they were lazy, selfish, unreliable, and contributed very little to the group? Or would you choose someone who worked hard, shared food, helped others, and knew how to survive? Suddenly, the answer becomes much less obvious. Ancient humans were not looking for people to pose in photographs. They were looking for people who could help build a life. Now imagine that you are the ugly person in the tribe. As you grow older, you become aware that some people get more attention than you do. Maybe there is someone in your group who is considered handsome or beautiful. People notice them when they walk by. Potential partners seem interested in them. At first, this might feel unfair. But over time, you begin to realize something important. Looks are not the only way to earn respect. Maybe you become skilled at tracking animals. Maybe you learn how to spot footprints that everyone else misses. Maybe you become an expert at making stone tools. Maybe you know which plants can be eaten and which ones can make people sick. Every new skill increases your value to the group. Every contribution makes you more important. Slowly, people stop thinking about your appearance and start thinking about what you can do. In many ancient societies, reputation was built through actions, not looks. If people could depend on you, they respected you. If people trusted you, they valued you. And once someone becomes valuable to a group, appearance often becomes a much smaller part of how they are viewed. One of the strongest pieces of evidence for this comes from archaeology itself. Over the years, researchers have discovered ancient skeletons belonging to people who suffered severe injuries, diseases, and disabilities. Some individuals lost the ability to hunt effectively. Some had broken bones that healed badly. Others suffered from conditions that would have made daily life extremely difficult. Yet many of these people lived for years after their injuries occurred. Think about what that means. If someone suffers a serious injury in the modern world, doctors, hospitals, and medicine can help them recover. But 30,000 years ago, none of that existed. If a person could not gather food or hunt, survival should have been almost impossible. Yet they survived anyway. The only explanation is that other people helped them. Someone shared food. Someone offered protection. Someone cared enough to keep them alive. That tells us something important about ancient humans. They were not simply calculating machines focused only on physical perfection. They formed bonds. They cooperated. They cared for one another. If they were willing to support people with severe disabilities, it becomes much harder to believe they would reject someone simply because they were unattractive. One famous example comes from Neanderthals. For many years, people imagined Neanderthals as savage creatures who cared only about strength. But archaeological discoveries painted a different picture. Scientists found Neanderthal remains belonging to individuals who had suffered serious injuries. Some had damaged limbs. Some had conditions that would have made hunting extremely difficult. Yet they survived for years after these problems appeared. The evidence suggests that their community supported them. Food was shared, protection was given, care was provided. This changes the way we think about ancient humans and their relatives. It shows that cooperation was not some modern invention. It was one of the reasons humans became successful in the first place. Groups that worked together survived better than groups that did not. Groups that cared for each other were often stronger than groups that abandoned their members. In that kind of environment, appearance alone could never be the only thing that determined a person's worth. Now imagine you are 20 years old. You are still considered unattractive by the standards of your group, but you have become one of the best hunters in the area. Every time a hunting party goes out, you help bring back food. Every successful hunt means children eat, families survive, elders stay healthy. Suddenly, people are not talking about your appearance anymore. They are talking about your skills. Or maybe you are not a hunter at all. Maybe you are the person who knows where water can be found during dry seasons. Maybe you are the person who remembers safe routes through dangerous territory. Maybe you are the person who can start a fire quickly when everyone else is struggling. In a modern city, those skills might not seem impressive. In the prehistoric world, they could mean the difference between life and death. This is one of the biggest reasons ugly people were not automatically pushed aside. Ancient humans could not afford to waste useful people. A tribe might only contain 30 or 40 individuals. Every member mattered. Every person represented labor, knowledge, experience, and survival. Losing someone meant losing part of the group's strength. Another thing modern people often forget is that beauty changes very quickly. Imagine the most attractive person in your tribe. Now imagine they suffer a hunting accident that leaves scars across their face. Imagine they lose several teeth. Imagine years of harsh weather, hard work, and aging begin to affect their appearance. Suddenly, beauty becomes less permanent than people think. In the prehistoric world, nearly everyone eventually carried scars, injuries, and signs of hardship. Life left marks on people. A person who reached old age often looked very different from the person they had been in their youth. Yet older people could become some of the most respected members of the community. Why? Because they possessed something even more valuable than beauty. They possessed knowledge. They knew where food could be found. They knew how to survive difficult seasons. They knew which mistakes could get people killed. Their experience made them valuable long after youthful attractiveness faded away. This is where the story becomes really interesting. If you were ugly 30,000 years ago, your appearance may actually have mattered less as you got older. Think about it. A person's face does not help much during a drought. A person's beauty does not help when a child becomes sick. A person's appearance does not teach younger generations how to survive. Knowledge does those things. Wisdom does those things. Experience does those things. The older you became, the more likely people were to judge you by what you knew rather than how you looked. Anthropologists believe that one reason humans became so successful is because older generations passed important knowledge to younger generations. Grandparents, elders, experienced hunters, and skilled gatherers helped preserve information that could save lives. In many cases, that knowledge was worth far more than physical attractiveness. Of course, this does not mean ugly people lived perfect lives. Humans are still humans. People noticed differences. People had preferences. Attraction existed. Some ugly individuals probably struggled to find partners. Some may have faced rejection. Some may have felt left out. Human emotions did not suddenly appear in the modern world. But the important thing is that appearance was only one factor among many. In today's world, people can sometimes form opinions after looking at a photo for a few seconds. Ancient humans rarely had that luxury. They spent years living alongside the same people. They knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. They knew who was dependable. They knew who was generous. They knew who could be trusted. Over time, those things often became much more important than physical appearance. The biggest surprise is that ancient humans may have been less obsessed with beauty than many people are today. Modern society constantly exposes you to strangers. You are surrounded by faces you know nothing about. As a result, appearance often becomes the first thing people notice. Ancient humans lived differently. They were surrounded by people they knew deeply. When you know someone for years, appearance becomes only a small part of who they are. Their actions matter more. Their character matters more. Their contributions matter more. The ancient world forced people to see beyond appearances because survival depended on it. So what did ancient humans do with ugly people? The answer is probably far less dramatic than most people expect. They did not automatically abandon them. They did not automatically reject them. They did not treat them as worthless simply because they were unattractive. Instead, they judged them the same way they judged everyone else. Could this person help the group survive? Could they contribute something useful? Could they be trusted? Could they solve problems? Could they protect, teach, hunt, gather, heal, or lead? Those questions mattered far more than modern audiences often realize. Beauty could attract attention, but usefulness earned respect. Beauty could create opportunities, but skills created value. And in a world where survival was never guaranteed, value often mattered much more than appearance. So if you had been born 30,000 years ago and everyone around you considered you ugly, your story would not automatically end there. In many ways, it would only be beginning, because every day you would have another chance to prove something far more important than beauty. You would have another chance to prove that you mattered. And in the ancient world, where survival depended on cooperation, knowledge, skill, and trust, that may have been the most attractive quality of all.